And welcome back to the next episode of Talk Smack with Mac. This one is going to be an honor for me, people. I got Jamie Turner, the writer of All American, jumping on Talk Smack with Mac to give his opinions on everything there is going on in the world, including sports. But you guys know him as Jamie. I have the privilege of calling him Uncle Jay.
Are you ready? Let's talk smack.
What's up, man? How you doing?
What's up, young killer? How you doing, man?
I can't complain. Life is beautiful. So, I'm just enjoying living the best life.
That's what's up, boy. Appreciate you for having me, man.
Yeah, definitely, man. I want to let the people know a little bit about what you do. You're the writer of All American, or one of the writers.
I'm one of them. Yeah.
And, can you kind of elaborate more on that and let us know exactly what you do?
Yeah, so I'm one of the writers on All American's CW Netflix show, you can basically say, because Netflix, in a lot of ways, boosted our popularity, man. I've been there the last 3 seasons. I'm one of like 8 or 9. My title on there is co-executive producer. So I'm like one of the. I've been blessed, to even get to that point, man, because that in itself is a process. But my day-to-days, you want my day-to-days or you want
whatever you want to talk about. I want to hear it all. I'm a very big fan. Okay,
no, that's what's up, man. I appreciate you first and foremost, man. I've been on All American since the end of season 1.
Okay.
And it's crazy because at the time when I started, we had just premiered and the ratings weren't great. And a lot of it wasn't the show. It was the marketing wasn't the strongest. And I think that, look, bro, it's a predominantly Black cast on a CW. And it was, we were different. But I remember telling my reps at the time, I was like, because I literally was only there for 2 months. I came in towards very end of season 1. My really good friend Khyl, she took over the show as showrunner. And for anyone who doesn't know, showrunner is basically the boss of a show. Like, she makes all the final decisions. She's mad cool. She's a dope writer. She's a dope person. And then Kay and I, we go back because we used to write together on this show, Rosewood, which was on Fox about 5-6 years ago. And so so she's family. And so when she took over, she hit me and she was like, yo, you want to come over to here? For me, as I'm sure you know through lives, I'm a huge football dude. I'm a huge sports dude. I'm a huge football dude.
We're
I'm a
definitely
huge
gonna get into
baseball
that.
dude. Oh yeah, bro, we can vibe hard. I'm a huge baseball. I'm a huge football, baseball, and basketball. And but really big into football and high school football and college football, obviously. But I watch, I'm sure you do too. On Friday nights, bro, I'll hit the Friday Night Lights on ESPN or ESPN, or ESPN2, and I'll watch kids, in Florida or the best in Texas or the best in Louisiana, because it's all about the future and it's all about trying to stay current with the future. And so when she asked me, I'm like, look, I get an opportunity because I've always done crime dramas and stuff like that, which has been a blessing.
How long have you been writing for?
I've been in the game, bro. I've been professionally writing since 2010. I've been in the game, the business, since 96. I've been in this thing for a minute. I've been in this longer. At this point, I've been in it longer than I've been alive. I've been in it longer when I started. I'm sorry. I've been more than half. My bad. Not since I was alive. Because let me rephrase
You do this shit in the womb.
I was doing this in the womb. You know what I'm saying? Back when Elijah's daddy, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I was kicking ideas then. But I've been in this for 25 years. And I started from the bottom as a production assistant. And I just kind of worked my way up. You know what I mean? People might know production assistants as a gopher or whatever. It's you get people's lunches, you get people whatever basically anybody your bosses need you to do, you do. You make copies, you get coffee. It kind of is what it is. And then you start
an intern.
Just basically, it's the same thing. It's an intern. And then you start to rise between the ranks, so they call it below the line jobs. You can become what they call a writer's assistant. And a writer's assistant is kind of when you're in a writer's room and it's 9 writers and you kind of pitching ideas and stories and all that other stuff, you have somebody that's typing all of the information up. So they are effectively a stenographer. And so you're kind of like a room stenographer. That's writer's assistant. And then there's another job called script coordinator. And what script coordinator does is basically whenever a writer is done with their writing their actual episode, they will send it to the script coordinator. And the script coordinator's job is to proof it, reformat it, distribute the script to everybody so everybody can see it and whatnot. You're also in charge of like getting legal clearances and making sure people get paid. And so it's a whole process. And then the other way you go is you can be like the showrunner's assistant, which is like the boss's assistant. And now you got a direct line because you work intimately with the boss. And so the boss can see firsthand if you got dope ideas, if you got like a little dope sample script, all that other stuff. So there are three key ways. Once you get past PAing, there are three primary directions that you can go. I went the script coordinator route because there's when you're a script coordinator, you're kind of siloed a little bit in a cool way because you're going to be really busy sending out different versions of scripts and different revisions and whatnot. Or there might be days where you just post up for 2 days straight and don't have nothing to do. And in that time, what you try to do, you try to max out your time. You work on your own stuff. Exactly. Yeah. See, I see how you run with it, Mac. You're already getting it. So it's just, so for me, that was always how I did it. I chose that route and I was in it back and forth for a while. And then and a lot of it in this business, man, is really, it's proximity, it's opportunity, it's all of that stuff. And getting on a show that has legs, getting on a show that's going to be around for a couple of years. Mm-hmm. That is generally the way you get promoted. If your show is going to be in the air for 6 or 7 years, over the course of those 6 or 7 years, people are moving and shaking. People are going to leave and opportunities will be created. Mm-hmm. And so, but also
you got to let your creativity run wild, man.
You have to.
Yeah.
But in that process, man, you know, most of the time, oh, sweet Jesus. Sorry, bro.
Oh, no problem.
Yeah. In most of these instances, I'm gonna do this with my phone. Yeah. In most of these instances, I'm gonna mute the noise. Sorry, bro. Put you back on you. In most instances, your shows won't last past a year, and so when that happens, it's stagnant. You kind of just. You'll remain a script coordinator. You'll effectively have to go to the next show as a script coordinator and just kind of have to be what it'll have to be. And yeah. I think that I'm sorry, bro. I'm trying to.
Oh, you are good.
I'm trying. I know I'm trying to get all this stuff off. And so, hold on. Got my mom right here.
When you're jumping from
my daughter
being a script coordinator.
So a script coordinator, the thing about that job is like, if your show doesn't last past the season, you got to go to the next job as script coordinator, and then the next job as script coordinator, and the next job. And so
you never get a chance to shine.
You don't get a chance.
Get your ideas to flow, so you're just staying stagnant. That's tough.
Or get promoted.
It's kind of like rolling the dice then.
Oh, big facts, And I was script coordinator for about 3 or 4 shows. And finally, I was on this show, The Shield, which is back in the day. It was on FX.
Yeah, I know The Shield.
The show was wild. And so I was on there, I did the last 2 seasons and I was script coordinator on there. And sometimes what will happen, if you vibe hard with like one of your bosses or whatever, like they'll say, you know what? And if they'll say, well, I want to read something. And they'll have what they have like a sample script. And then you give them like your sample script of your own show. Mm-hmm. And then they'll read it. And then they're like, okay, I can rock with this person. And that's kind of how it went down on The Shield. My boss basically read it and was like, I like this dude. I want to write an episode with him. And it was my first produced episode of television. I co-wrote it with my boss on The Shield.
That's dope.
And so, which was hard, bro. And it was crazy because at the time, it was my favorite show in the air. So I was just blessed to even be there. Yeah. And then
so the nerves are taking over. You're probably like, I don't want to fuck this up.
No, hell no, I can't. You know what I'm saying? This is your shot, right? Yep. Like you don't want to. And The Shield, it could be a challenge at times, bro. It was a complicated process at times, just in terms of like, because there's a whole process to the writing. It's like you got a general idea for what you want the episode to be, and then you kind of go in and then you start discussing it with people, right? And then you guys start talking about these are the scenes I want. I want this scene. I want that scene. Well, what kind of story do I want to tell? Like, what's the lesson learned? Like, this person starts off. And you always want the character, especially the main protagonist, you always want them to start in a place and end in a different spot by the end of the episode, right? So you take them on like this, what we call is like the emotional journey. And so on The Shield, Vic Mackey, we had Vic Mackey, and he was always doing grimy shit. And so it was kind of cool because my episode was about him brokering a deal with basically like the three biggest dons in LA, like these three black dudes in Inglewood. And he had to kind of broker this deal. But in the process, he also kind of finessed these dudes and took like 100 bands from them. So that's kind of like the hijinks of like what it was. Like, we got to get Vic to go. Vic needed $100,000.
Yeah.
How do we get him $100,000? That's the journey. And then he gets the $100,000.
Exciting, man.
And that's what it is. And that's the thing that I tell Lige a lot of times. Like I said, it's the same thing in music. You look at a lot of these albums, you know, like you look at Kendrick, right? A Good Kid, Mad City. That's a movie. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, that is when you really break it down.
I like why you said that.
Yes.
Because Lige's next project, matter of fact, Baby to the Game, dropping June 11th. Make sure you guys go check out the pre-orders coming and starting on May 29th.
Yes,
he wrote a story.
Yes.
We just finished the listening party recently. It was absolutely amazing. And he tells a story through comedy with this album.
Yes.
And, you know, talking good player shit and with the coolest bars, you know.
Yes, that's what he does.
On the West Coast, nicest bars west of the Rockies, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
He's doing his thing. Elijah T, check him out, man. But the story, I'm a big fan of that. So Good Kid, Mad City, yes, he told a story.
Yes, and it's a story.
You fall in love with that.
And you fall in love with that. And it's funny you mentioned that in Baby to the Game too. When he sent it to me, because he sent me like early, about 3-4 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. And I went through all of the tracks. And I love it, man. But I remember 2012, I played 3 times in a row because there's something about that that's so personal. Because that's the thing, man. Like, when I listen to music, whether or not it was when I was a kid or even up to now, like, I'm looking for the story. And when him and we've talked about this a lot. I said, I'm just looking for the story. 2012, as it is in all of his, in every song on this album, there's a story. But that 2012 one is very specific because it's a very specific time when he was a very specific age. And I lock in on that kind of stuff because, to me, that's what I got this problem. And I'm sure most people do. I don't even know if I'm saying it like it's a rare problem, but like, I will get locked in on the song and sometimes I listen to 25 times in a row. And I'll do it because there's on Benny the Butcher, because I like Benny the Butcher a lot because he tells a story. And obviously I love Larry June and all them dudes. Elijah kind of put me on Freddie Gibbs and Larry June and all of them.
My guy.
Which one? Freddie?
Freddie.
Oh, bro, he's so hard, bro.
Man,
hard.
Ridiculous.
Hard, bro. Like, it is, but it's a storytelling. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And when I first heard Practice on the Bandana album, and I was like, this is a story. This is crazy because this is like a vulnerable side of this dude, but this dude is telling a story about being torn between 2 chicks. Yeah. And it's a very basic story, but it's a very familiar story. It's very personal and it's familiar. And for any of us, every single one of us have been in that situation. And it's on both sides. There have been women that have been in that situation. You know what I mean? It plays both ways. You can be, whether or not you're a female with 2 dudes, or 2 dudes with a female, or 1 female, 2 females.
whatever it may be.
Do whatever it is. It's like, we've all been in that situation. Mm-hmm. And so when we break these episodes, and I've been teaching my little daughter this, and she's now 7, like, she understands, like, it's the 3 key components: journey, obstacle, resolution. I said, you're going to take them on a journey. It's going to be an obstacle, and then they got to get it resolved. I said, but that's every movie. That's every TV show. Oh, yeah, do you think?
I'm listening.
Oh, yeah.
That's going to write it down.
Yeah. That's every movie. That's every TV show. That's in music. It's across the board, and it is a very basic, clean format that works. And so that's what we do. We'll start talking about, well, this is where we kind of want this person to go. This is where we kind of want this person to kind of end up by the end of this episode. We all collectively as a group kind of talk it out. And then we start pitching these ideas. So, like, well, what could this scene be? What's a cool opening scene? What's a cool scene here? Or what's a cool way to kind of end this? And we'll talk that out. And then we'll go back through. We might have like what we call 5 or 6 tentpole scenes. And then we'll go back through it. And we might add like 3 to 4 more. And then basically when it's all said and done, now you got like a 10 to 12, what we call beats, or scenes. Beats, the same thing as a scene. We'll have 10 to 12 scenes. Mm-hmm. And then that A story is effectively done. And then the next thing is the B story. And then this is kind of how, okay, well, what's this B story? We want this person to do this. And we'll kind of walk through that process. And that might be like 7 scenes, right?
Okay, so say how long are each one of those scenes when they're actually, when it's all said and done and it's filmed and stuff like that? How much or how long is each one of those scenes?
That's a dope question, man. It depends. Sometimes we'll have, I know All American, like we'll have like, we all get them, and it's amazing, man. When we get like Spencer, like when Spencer gets a speech, right? Like you get one of those scenes. Sometimes it's just a big monologue. That monologue in itself might be, you know, that scene might be a minute and a half. Then there are certain scenes where you really want to get some stuff out, and it's really important to get certain things out. Those scenes can be they could be 2 minutes, they could be 2.5 minutes, they could be up to 3 minutes. We've had scenes that are up to 3 minutes. You try to, that's typically the threshold. Like you don't want to go beyond 3 minutes, like especially on network TV. But you know, that's not to say that that's wrong, because if you watch Breaking Bad or any of these other shows that are cable, like sometimes they'll have 6-7 minute scenes. It really, there's no rhyme or no reason. A lot of it just comes down to like choice and taste. And I think that like, so yes, so you can have those 10 scenes. One of them might be a minute. One of them might just be 30 seconds. But on average, they're normally, most of them are about a page and a half. On average.
And that's continuous filming. So each scene is filmed one time.
Well, so what we do, if you want to, for instance, I can break it down for you, like on our show, right? We'll have 12 scenes, and they'll basically, a lot of it, we have 8 days, 7.5 to 8 days to shoot one episode. And so on average, we'll have like 5 scenes a day, because there's normally like 30 to 35 scenes per episode. So we might have like 5 or 6 scenes a day. Yeah, it just depends on like how long they are. And sometimes if all of those, like for instance, if we do a Coop storyline, and like all the Coop scenes will take place at like Slauson Cafe or whatever, we'll just knock out all of her scenes at one day. And so then she'll be done. That's why sometimes you ever hear, bro, like you'll hear actors, they'll be like, yeah, you know, they're working on something. He's like, I've never had a scene with so-and-so. Or I've met them, but I've never worked with them. You're like, well, how is that possible? Y'all on the same show. There are some times you'll go through 13 episodes and you have 2 characters that have never been in a scene together. And it happens a lot.
Yeah.
And so with Coop, and normally she might have a scene with Spencer, or she might have a scene with like Preach. She'll have her scenes, and then she's effectively done. Like you'll do her 4 scenes and shoot her out for that episode that day. And so it just depends on like the schedule. Like this year, because of the pandemic, we shot a lot on our stages, because we have 2 big stages at Warner Brothers Studios where we shoot most of our stuff, right? They call them swing sets. We have those, we shoot most of our stuff there. And then when we want to go out to like, we want to do like the football stuff that we do, that's shot in South Central. If we want to do like Van Ness Park, that's shot in South Central. So sometimes if we got 2 or 3 scenes at Van Ness Park, we'll just go down there and shoot those 3 scenes that day, and that'll be your day. Or if we shoot all of the football stuff, we try to shoot all of the football stuff on the same day. And we normally try to do it, because most of the time it requires night work. We try to shoot it on a Friday, because so much of this stuff is based off of like, we try to do 12-hour days in our show. If you go anything beyond 12 hours, that's double time. So it becomes like you start paying folks more money. A premium. It becomes you're paying a premium. And sometimes we don't have a choice. Sometimes you got to have 13-hour days. Sometimes you got to have 12.5-hour days. But most of the time, I want to say 85% of the time, we normally keep it at a 12-hour or 12 or below. We try to keep it below. And so in that 12 hours, on average, if you do like 5 to 6 scenes, for most scenes, it'll take like 2 to 2.5 hours to shoot them, because you got to do a couple of takes. And you also want to make sure you have coverage. And what coverage is like, you want to make sure you're seeing your actors' faces like clearly. And then you do 2 sizes. You do a regular size, and then you do like a much closer size. So that way you can kind of pick and choose which one you want when you got to edit it and all that other stuff. It's a wild process, man, but it's a dope process. It's like,
I love the teamwork that's involved. There's so many levels that everybody has a helping hand in the film industry. And it's amazing when the final product comes out, and it's absolutely amazing.
Because everybody, to your point, I mean, and that's a great point that you bring up, bro. And I think that it's important, especially like as a boss, Like I encourage people all the time, like as bosses, everyone at some point is going to be a boss. And when you're a boss of a TV show, like you have to always make sure you acknowledge them because there's so many different departments. There's your grip department, your set lighting department. You got to make sure you go to them and be like, man, thank you. You know what I mean? Because without you, this scene would have been lit terribly. Or if y'all didn't like this scene perfectly, it wouldn't have popped the way it popped. And with the grips and the same thing with the grips are the ones that are basically, they're all maintenance. They're in charge of like making sure all of this stuff is up and everything is hung the right way and all of this stuff. And it's like, without them, that ain't happening. You know what I mean? And then you got your DP, obviously, who's setting that shot. And without the DP, him or her, that ain't happening. And then you got your director and then you have your writer on set. And then you got your cast, obviously. Everybody plays
has
a part.
To be in the
everybody.
Same,
on
the same page.
100.
I'm big on that. I'm big on teamwork and to see it all come to fruition like that, especially in something like a movie that has to be perfect, or else it's not gonna do good.
No,
or a TV show or a movie, and it's pretty incredible to watch that process. I'm a really like big film geek.
That's what's up.
And that's why sitting here getting to talk to you is really surreal for me, because this is like, hey man, this is something that I've been obsessed with my entire life, and to sit down with somebody who actually has a helping hand, that's pretty cool.
No, that's what's up, man. I mean, I appreciate this, bro. So do you consider yourself like, so you're a cinephile? You watch all types of old school movies, or what kind do you watch? Or
so I'm a little guilty. I used to watch a lot of action, comedy, horror. So I'll dive in different genres. But lately, since I started the podcast, I don't really have time like I used to. So,
no, at all.
Yeah, I'm a little bit behind. You know, I choose to grind over some of my personal loves, but that's all good for the time being, because
bro, my
personal love is getting me to talk to you. I watch All American. Now I'm talking to one of the writers. That's fucking awesome.
No, I appreciate that, and I appreciate the support, bro. I mean, Elijah texted me the other day, man. He said, man, I'm really digging what y'all doing this year. And that means a lot, man, because going through the pandemic and kind of all of the stuff that we went through this year, like, it was hard. And
go ahead, talk about that. Let people know like the struggles that you guys had during the pandemic. Like, you guys get paid to do a job and you were not allowed to do that job. What the hell did you do?
Well, this is the crazy part. So this season 3, which I feel like is the best one that we've done to date. And I feel like, because, you know, we're obviously able to kind of spread our wings as we've gotten more comfortable with these characters, and we kind of get an opportunity to watch them grow. So just to give you an idea, so we are May 2021. So season 2 ended. We ended filming season 2 at the end of January. And so Nkechi was like, you know, at the time, you know, obviously you're hearing about Wuhan, you're hearing about the flu, you're hearing about it, right? It's all in the periphery around like February. I mean, even December. Like I know I started hearing about December even more so in January.
So December 19 going into
December 19 going to January 2020. Like, you know, I'm hearing, you know, like on the periphery that there's this thing that could be coming, right? But again, we're not thinking that because we've heard that before.
Been there, done that, and nothing ever came.
And even the one that came, it's like it never truly affected us or impacted us this way, right? Mm-hmm. Like there've been like Ebola, we've dealt with the Ebola, we've dealt with like the bird flu, we've dealt with like all types of other stuff. And so you hear about it and it's still not registering. So in the meantime, we were staring down the barrel of a potential writer's strike. And so, because like our deals were up. Mm-hmm. Like the writers collectively, I'm a part of a union, and we signed like these 3-year deals. And so it's all types of stuff, just in terms of like sharing revenue and all that other stuff, and all types of stuff. And so we were about to it was about to expire in May 1st. It was going to expire May 1st. So all we were concerned about was like, we got to come back early, because normally when we're done in January, we're not back until like May or June. But because of that pending strike,
you guys wanted to hurry up and get that new contract signed before the pandemic came and rushed everything.
Or get scripts, like have scripts in the hopper before the contracts expire.
So you guys was like, no, let's get this. Something's coming. Let's make sure we're good.
Yes, and that's what we did. And we really just wanted to target 5 of them, because God forbid if there's like a strike, at least we can say in good faith, we got 5 of them out, 5 is the equivalent to like at least 2.5 months worth of work for our crew.
Mm-hmm.
You feel me? So we were at least thinking is that way we can still get people paid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like in case we striking and we can't be there, right? So we went through that process. So we started back in February. We go through it. Obviously, by time March, we're in the offices, our offices, chilling, doing our thing, working. And then we got through the first 3 episodes, right? We broke them. When you finish with an episode, you call, it's like breaking it. The term is breaking an episode. It's like when we're like in the process of kind of piecing it all together. And then like by the end, you know, it's like its own little thing. And so we did like the first 3 episodes and we were good. And then the virus, bro, this is the crazy part. Literally the day Rudy Gobert did all that goofy shit with the mic, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
I remember. That day, I remember.
It was like, he's doing all of that goofy nonsense, right? He does that. And then at the same time, they said Tom Hanks got it, right? Down in like New Zealand or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and we were hearing whispers that they might shut us down because at that point, this is on like a Wednesday or a Thursday, I can't remember. At that point, they were like, our studio execs were basically saying like schools are being shut down, like universities in Washington and whatnot that were starting to kind of get hit by it, being shut down. All of the local private schools are being shut down here in LA. And so, and then when that thing went down with Rudy Gobert, when they shut the NBA down, they effectively sent us home that day. The crazy part is the very next, so at that point, we were like, okay, well, what's Zoom? Then none of us know about Zoom, right? So we were like, what Zoom? So we had to do like a quick tutorial, right? So we learned what it was. And then, bro, that day when it all shut down and we couldn't be in our offices no more, we were about to start my episode. And so I had to be the guinea pig on Zoom. Yeah. And it was like, and it was my first episode this season where, you know, he goes to therapy and all that other stuff. And I'm very proud of that episode. That's a very special episode for a lot of reasons.
What episode number is that?
It's episode 4. It's when Spencer first goes to therapy. It's when Darnell leaves. It's when he goes to therapy, Darnell leaves, and then Simone, the Simone character, she's like torn between whether or not she wants to give her baby up for adoption, and she has a couple of days to make that decision. And then there's like this whole beef between Layla and her pops in that episode as well. But this also in that episode is where Spencer realizes that like from his psychology, he realizes that he has like a psychological stuck point and he can't figure out what his stuck point is. And then he realizes his stuck point is Coop. And which is effectively, you know, it kind of puts their relationship on pause. So it's all of that stuff. But like the most important thing to me was just Black men in therapy, especially Black men in therapy talking to another Black therapist. It's just stuff you just don't see.
Yeah.
And so, or you don't see enough, I should say. And so, so the very next day we're like, okay, I guess we're on this Zoom thing, looking at each other in the squares. And we still had, because, you know, when you're in a writer's room, you got a board. We're used to just writing on the board. Can't do that. So we had to have like the virtual board, and it was different. The first day was tough. And then we got acclimated to it and it worked. We finished, we got the first 5 done because we still had to kind of stick to that routine of like, we had to shut our room down by May 1st. And so we did. And then we came back. At that time, we were like, well, when are we going to start filming? And no one knew. They were like, it definitely ain't happening this summer. And so we were like, all right, everything was month to month. And so we shut down for 6 weeks just as a writer's room. And then we came back and we just kept breaking these episodes. And so we ended up, we kept breaking them. And then in September, we came back. We finally came back. We kind of went through the whole process, had to add the COVID team and all this other stuff. And, you know, in the beginning, it was tough, dude. And we really had to kind of like, you had to change the way you, not so much, thankfully, the way we write the show was fine, but you had to change locations because we couldn't, you know, those scenes where you normally have
same places over and over and over. Yeah.
And you couldn't have like hella extras, right? In scenes no more. Like, you know, sometimes you might have 30 extras in a scene, just 30 different people. You couldn't do that anymore. You couldn't have like what we call atmosphere. So either atmosphere extras, whatever you want to call them, we couldn't have it. Or if we did, we had to minimize it to like 10 people. And it kind of, because sometimes, man, what happens when you add extras to your show, thankfully what we did, we were smart, strategic in how Nkechi and whomever like made this choice where we basically, it's so weird to say this, so please forgive me, kind of like bought out, I wouldn't say bought out the extras, but you basically contracted them out for the year so that they were a part of our testing cycle. Because in September, if you worked on set, you had to get tested 4 times a week.
See, I was going to ask how frequent the testing was. 4 times a week. That's a pain in the ass.
Bro, it's intense. Now, the crazy part about it is like you get used to it. Obviously, it's down to 3 times now, which is a plus. And that's really for the people on stage. If you're in our offices, like in what we call like our production offices or whatnot, they're getting that tested, I think, once a week. Mm-hmm. If you're like, it just depends on, and everyone is kind of like zoned out. There's like red zone, which is like the actors. There's yellow zone, which is most of us who kind of can interact with the actors, but not really. And then there's like a white zone. There's a couple other different zones.
Based on the proximity of people close to you and how long.
And department. Yeah, exactly. 100%. It's like, it's based on like exactly proximity and how much and how long and who and what's your department and where you are. And so we were basically, so September was an adjustment. I mean, none of us were down there yet. It was Nkechi. She was on set because it was the very first episode, which she had written. And it was a little tough, man. Like we had some challenges, we had some setbacks. You know, we had, unfortunately, some folks that got hit with COVID. And when that happens at the time, because it was also new to us, that meant actors would have to quarantine for like 10 to 14 days. You had to, or you would find a way. I mean, God bless her, because what she would do, if we ever ran into those challenges, you would have to basically, that actor would have to quarantine for like 10 to 14 days. But what she did, like if there were still actors available, she would just pull up those scenes with them. So at least you had something to shoot during the day, and at least our crew would get paid. Because bro, the crazy part is they ain't paying you. They're not paying if you miss these days. They consider it like a sick day or nothing. It's just a shutdown. Yeah. And so it was rough. So like her primary concern was making sure people continue to get paid, which is like, it's a testament to who she is and how like great she is. But she wanted to ensure that people got paid. So even if it was a day where you might only have 2 scenes to shoot, at least they're gonna get paid. And so that's basically what we would do. We'd have to cobble together these scenes or make adjustments so we can have this actor in this moment and all that other stuff. And so that's kind of what it was for the first couple of months. It was very touch and go, just trying to finish episodes, because we were premiering in January. So we had to have at least 5 or 6 done.
Now, right? What is typical for that? Say if you have a show starting, your season starting in January, how you always want 5 to 6?
Well, so normally with us, we start in fall. So we normally start, because we would normally start filming the show in July and we would air it in October. So you try to give yourself like that 3-month grace. If you give yourself like 3 months, normally around the time we premiere, we're filming like episode 8. So we at least got 7 of them done. And in that process, and even like 6 and 7 might still be going through like editorial or whatever. Like, but it's filmed. It's filmed. It's in like the last stages. And so we normally are around episode 8 by the time we premiere, which is a good cushion. But that cushion closes fast because everybody's on like expedited schedules, like Post is on a crazy schedule. Everyone's on a crazy schedule to ensure that things kind of keep churning out. But unfortunately, because of COVID, this year, it can shut you down in the middle of an episode, and then you basically lose like 6 or 7 days, and then you got to come back, and then you got to figure this thing out, or you got to move these scenes around. So it's what we call crossboard, and what crossboard means is you might shoot scenes from 2 completely different episodes in one day. And it's crazy because, obviously you got to have somebody that keeps track of that. And that person is called our script supervisor. She's on set. So for continuity and all that other stuff, and like knowing exactly what an actor was wearing in an episode 3, and then kind of coming back and now having to shoot scenes from episode 4, like later on that day, and the person's hair might be different.
I'm sure that's like a pain for the actors too, right? Because you got to mentally put yourself in different time spots.
Yes,
that's tough.
Like, emotionally,
I like
emotionally,
that
it's a grind. but it's funny, man. At this point, it's like we've been through so much this year, bruh. Like barring like some crazy catastrophe, there's nothing that we can't. We've learned that there's nothing that we can't
overcome.
Fix. Exactly. You know what I'm saying? And so we went through our struggles in September. We had a couple of little setbacks in like October, November. December, it started to kind of ease up a little bit. I got on set in November. I was down there for 5 weeks. There were some challenges for sure, but we kind of got through it all the way up until Christmas. And then it gets tricky, man, when you go away for holidays, right? Because at the time, especially I know with Cali, I know like Nevada, like it's shut down. So around Christmas time, it was shut down. And so, but you can't stop people from traveling to go see their families. But it's a risk because you don't know. And so
they could bring it back.
It could bring it back. And so you don't know. And fortunately, we had a couple of cases where they came back for the new year, but nothing that knocked us. We had to shut down for a little bit. But overall, man, like we've been blessed. And in the last 3.5, 4 months, we've been, and because now folks are starting to get vaccinated, like I got everybody, most of us have gotten vaccinated. I knew I had to get vaccinated just from my mom. So my mom's almost 80. And so I had to make sure that, you know, just being around her and my wife and my daughter and all of that, had to make sure
you don't want to give
that
it
you do it for that.
No, yeah.
You gotta be careful. And so we went through that whole process. And in the last 4 months, it's been straight. It's gotten a lot better. I know people
looking up. It's looking up right now. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And despite all that we kind of went through, man, we're very, very proud of what we've been able to do and really kind of like push ourselves and kind of challenge ourselves from a storytelling perspective this season to really go as hard as we could go, to kind of live in a social justice space, to kind of tell like real stories, you know what I mean? And like and honorable moments, like taking a knee and, you know, where sometimes the movement is bigger than the moment, you know what I mean? And so, and living in that and kind of like, and exploring facts over feelings and all of the different kind of stuff, man, like I felt like we've been able to accomplish that. And the last 2 days, we've been talking about stuff for season 4. Season 4 is going to be solid, bro. It's going to be real. We're already excited.
Hey, I'm juiced, man. You've been there you got there at the end of season 1. You're going into season 4 strong. And
bro.
That season 3 has been your best so far, or the best for the show, in your opinion. Yeah, that's exciting, man. I'm very honored and juiced to be here and hearing your success, man. I love to see the ones around me, or the ones that are around me that they love, be successful and set that standard for people like myself. But I do have a question, a writer's question for you. So, you know, the pandemic has been causing psychological stresses on a lot of people, cooped up in the house, stuff like that. How has that affected you as a writer?
You know, it's interesting, man. It was not easy. And I know, like, and I find myself now, man, where what my daughter and I would do, because that was the big thing. It's like my wife, because around when it all went down, obviously we were all here. And we all just kind of like, as writers, as a writers group on our show, we just kind of just try to be there for each other as much as possible, right? Like if you need to talk to somebody or whatever, just get at me or whatever, or try to FaceTime so at least you can see people. And then probably about 2.5 months in, my wife, she started going back to work. And which is good. Like that was the first step. She was physically going back to the offices. Probably should not have been, but she was physically going back. And at the time, they would get tested like once a week. And so they were trying to be as safe as they could be. And I think that for me, you know, I tried to like, I was so in tune with trying to help everybody else. Royce the 5'9" has this song called Strong Friend.
Hey,
right?
It's funny. All the artists that you have mentioned are all the artists that we listen to. My brother's favorite artists, you know, Khyl's always playing them. Elijah's playing them.
Yeah.
We all got the same.
Oh, yeah. Oh, we all on the same wavelength, bro. Yeah. Like big facts. We are, which is a good thing. And like, he has that, I don't know if you listen to that song, Strong Friend. It's like, it's so dope because it's about checking on your strong friend. Because that's the one that no one's talking enough about. It's the person that's always looking out for everybody else. But you said, but it's okay to check in on that person. And it's like, and it's a fascinating song. It's only like 2 minutes long, but it's real. And that album, The Book of Ryan, is one of my favorite albums. Again, another movie. Like Book of Ryan is a movie, a Royce the 5'9". And so, so for me, man, it was like, I was able to stay busy because we were in Zoom every day. And then when I wasn't, in the beginning, I was the only person going to the stores. I was the only person doing Like, cause you know, I didn't have my mom's going. No, we had my mom's on lockdown because, you know, they high risk. And so she had to be on lockdown. You know, she was fine in the beginning. She started getting antsy for obvious reasons. And so what I would do to kind of help myself, man, especially me and my daughter, because that's the other thing. I would be at work because we would do Zoom from 10 in the morning, 12:30, take a break for an hour and a half and come back and go hard from 2 to 4. So again, another Nkechi in her brilliance was like, I'm not going to try to wear y'all out. 4 hours max is enough to do this every day. We know this show, it shouldn't be that hard. In between that, I would sometimes take my daughter to the store with me, or sometimes I would just get in the car and just drive around just to kind of get out the crib. And so what started to happen is my daughter started to develop a love for just being out because kids, man, they can get siloed. They can get into this thing, you know, especially when they're that young. She's 7. She just turned 7. Like they can get into that thing where they can become creatures of habit. If she's like, if I'm doing this in school studying stuff, I can be at the crib. I can be inside all day. And I didn't want her to get used to that.
Inadvertently, like alienating herself from the outside world. And now you're developing bad psychological issues and having a hard time, like, I guess bonding with other people because you've been by yourself or with the comfort people for so long. Yeah, man, there's a lot of bad shit that happened this last year that people are really thinking of.
Because it's the socialization, right? And when you for her, she was kindergarten when it went down. So just imagine, you kindergarten, you've only been in school from August to March, right? At this point, by the time, because she went back, LAUSD opened up a month ago. She went back in like second or third week of April. But just imagine this, as a kid, especially for her, she had been out of school longer than she had been in it. You know what I mean? So it's like she literally went from April all the way until April. She went like a full year before she went back. Yeah. And she was just doing like, you know, the virtual stuff. But like, she's at an age, she didn't know the difference between the two. And so then when we went back, her first day was kind of dope because she goes from 8 to 11. That's all they do right now at that age. And then they come home and they do independent study for an hour. But she went in her first day and I didn't know what to expect, dude. And it was only 6 kids in her class. Only like 18 kids in her class total, but like most of them decided to just keep doing Zoom. Yeah. But it's funny, like the ones who like are probably the most aggressive, like my daughter, and like the other ones are the ones that are all there in class. It's so wild. Like the kids that I'm so used to hearing their teacher yell, like I'm not yelling, but like say their names, like, yo, what do you have? Are the ones in terms of contributing and the most vocal, are all the ones that are in class. And so she went her first day and she was like, Daddy, can I do that again tomorrow? I'm like, man, yeah, little mama, you get like, for sure. Because it helps her, awesome. It helps us. It's good for socialization for her. Mm-hmm. It's good for mental health. So I was able, man, by the grace of God, I was able to stay busy between.
So you kept your mental, going.
I kept my mental busy and work helped me. And in a lot of ways, it was because of my job, because we have not stopped. And I mean, like I said, we stopped from May 1st until mid-June, but from mid-June on, bro, it's funny. Our last day of filming is June 14th. It will be a full year. And so it's like, but it's a blessing because I've been able to get paid. And then what has been also great is like, I've been on set a lot. And so it's kept me, that's also helped because I'll go on set and it's just kind of cool to put jeans on, you know what I'm saying? And finally like pull out those new sneaks that you probably copped about 8-9 months ago and be seen. Yeah. Yes. And see people, you know what I'm saying?
Yes,
like, interact with folks is good. And so we finally started to do that. So I've been blessed. So I've always been able to kind of stay busy. I mean, I was able to stay busy and to stay occupied. And I think that helped a lot.
Yeah, man, that's really great to hear. Cause I know a lot of people are struggling. Yeah.
Cause and it's funny, man, we had kids on our show that kind of went through some stuff. We had people, connected to the show that went through some stuff, because you got to imagine we had stopped filming in January and we didn't come back till September. So that's 8 months that a lot of people were out of work. You know what I'm saying? Especially like our crew, that's like 8 months straight that a lot of them were out of work and it's not one of those things where it's like, it's just our show that shut down. It's like the whole city was shut down.
Yeah.
And so because of that, it might have exposed or triggered some stuff. And so I've been blessed in that regard, but I've seen both sides of it, man. And it's been tough. It's been a trying year, you know? Yeah. And then I think people, and just imagine this is not even taking into consideration the people who have been deeply affected by COVID or who've lost people by COVID, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like on top of your mental health and just adjusting to it, just think of the people who've lost someone to it or who've lost multiple family members to it, you know what I mean?
It pops into my head. He lost like his whole family.
Can you imagine
and then you expect him to go out there and play basketball at a very high level?
It's crazy. You can't do it. I mean, and God bless like the ones that can, you know what I mean? And especially the ones that have like the sudden ones. Like, you know, I remember Brett Favre had that thing with his pops. His pops had a heart attack back in the day. Or you look at like the Karl Anthony Towns situation, or you look at like what's my man, the receiver? I
remember Quan Alexander. His brother died a couple days.
Quan Alexander.
He came out had like 20 tackles, 2 sacks, and interception.
He beasted out. It's funny. That was my first time because I knew about him at LSU, but that was my first time seeing him like I was like, oh shit, he's with the Bucks. It was against the Falcons. And I was watching that game, bro. He went ham in that game. Torrey Smith had that same shit when Torrey Smith lost his little brother. Yeah. And he had that crazy Sunday night game with the Ravens when he went off. And so there just been like those moments, man, that like some people can rise above it. Some people, they need time. And I get it on both sides.
Yeah, it's nothing shade or anything like that.
No.
It's tough in those situations. It just shows the mental toughness and the sharpness of some people to kind of use it as fuel, you know, take that for what you will. But it's crazy. You know,
it is.
I have a couple questions for you, actually.
Man, get at me. Whatever you got.
You know, it doesn't even have to be COVID related, but you said All-American, 10-episode season. You drop in the fall.
Yeah.
That's a lot of work. Now, how do you still, and people expect you to drop annually, season after season, right? For the successful shows. Now, there's other shows with 22 episodes.
Yep.
Is that why they do like that mid-season break and, you know, to kind of give people more time to get caught up?
It's interesting, man. So basically, what we're doing, so this year we're doing 19 total, right? We're going to do 19 episodes total. And that's the most we've ever done because the first 2 seasons, we only did 16. Now, a lot of it, man.
Wait, you're doing 19 for this season?
We're doing 19. We're doing 19 this season.
Excuse me then. I said, man, I wasn't giving you enough juice.
No.
I gave you half juice. 19, that's incredible, man. People are really fucking with the show.
Oh, bro, it's crazy. And the funny thing about it is like, we're up to 13. So we got like an extra one. We got like 6 left.
Okay,
and so,
then you can answer this question perfect. I'm going to kind of mix it up a little bit. You started with an 8-episode season, and you knew how much that work was. And then now you're up to 19. How do you kind of juggle that much work on an annual basis?
It's wild because when we did the first 2 years, like when we did that one, man, that one was like, because it was interesting because I came on for the last 3 and we'd already done like 13 of them. So we did 3 more and we pushed it to 16. And that season, it wasn't as crazy because it was the first season. I mean, it was crazy for a lot of other reasons, but most first season shows are just tough. They started filming, I believe, in June. And so they were done by January. And so the following year, season 2, we had 16 again. And we started in July and we were done end of January, early February. This season, because of the pandemic, we got everything slid down like 3 months. And then on top of that, they added 3 additional episodes. It's going longer. And then obviously, like I mentioned earlier, we've had like some challenges.
Going to be 19 as well?
We don't know. This is the thing though. Like the show is the number 1 rated, and it's the number 1 rated show on the network, which is fire. And it's also
congratulations.
Like, thank you, my brother. And it's also the number 1 most streamed show on the network. And so I think for them, because the demand is so high, that they'll probably ask us to do 20 next year. Because we were supposed to do 20. Bro, I had this episode that we'll probably push into season 4 that I'm so excited about. I think there are elements of it that I think will still exist that we'll just push it into season 4. But we were originally going to do it this year. And then because of certain like challenges and whatnot, we weren't able to do it. We had to push it basically into next year. And so to answer your question, like most family dramas, right? We're considered a family drama, right? It ain't really no case of the week. It ain't like Law and Order or none of that. most family dramas kind of exist somewhere between 16 and 18 because after a while it just gets tough to tell 22 episodes of like family drama type stuff because what we call it stalling. At some point, you can see that story stalling a little bit where because you won't, even if it's just like micro steps, you always want to see a progression in every episode, in everybody's story. You want to see some kind of lesson learned. Like I told you earlier, like you want them to end in a place where they didn't begin in that episode, right? Like emotionally. So it's like, so you always want like at least micro progressions. And when you're doing 22 of a family drama, it gets hard because then you might have to do those bad episodes. Like, hey, let's do the episode at the mall. And it's just terrible. It's like nobody's going to want to watch the episode at the mall.
Got to.
Let's go to Jack and Jill and look for clothes for the kids. Like no one's going to want to do
Let's
that.
have some great dialogue.
Exactly. So you got to like, so because of that, you would like for them to kind of live in that 16 to 18 episode space. Now, on the contrary, these kind of give you some game about what we call procedurals, like Law and Order and all of those. You can do 22 to 26 of those because
it's a new case every show.
It's a case of the week every week.
Many stories every time, building on a bigger goal.
100%, because like that, and Law and Order is classic for like the rip from the headlines. Like literally something that happened in February, and Law and Order will film it like a month later. Like it will be on their show.
Another similar show, South Park. South Park is really
South Park. And I don't know how, because animation normally takes longer, but they are such
like something happened last week,
like last night, and they own it.
Episode.
I'm like, bro, y'all own that like that? Like you do an episode, remember the Cash Me Out chick, Cash Me Outside? Like they would have like Cash Me Outside episode like 3 days later. I'm like, well, how did y'all just do that, man?
Right.
And so to your answer your question, I think for us, I think you gauge orders. We call it like episode orders. You kind of gauge the orders based off the genre of the show. Because even like medical shows is another one. They can do 22 episodes. But when you see most cop shows and medical shows and even legal shows, they can all do 22. When you look at shows like This Is Us, like Our Show, like a lot of the family dramas, quote unquote family dramas, you typically want them to live somewhere between 13 and 18. And then on cable, it's different because, and I don't know if it's a budgetary thing or I don't know if it's a taste thing. I think it's based on the network. Like you see a lot of shows on FX, like Snowfall's just 10 episodes. You see shows like doing a lot more miniseries now. And even most of your streaming shows, like anything that's on Netflix or Hulu or Amazon Prime, they're anywhere between 10 to 12 episodes as well. But that's just because people can binge them and they're probably saying like 13 is normally enough for most people to kind of like burn through and watch. So that's most of them kind of have a plan and they kind of try to stick within like that plan in terms of like how many they want. But really the order is dictated by the genre.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because if you have like an action-based show, you could do more things longer time period, or like you said with Law and Order, you gotta have a different case every single time,
every week.
There's a lot to do. But family drama, drama is drama, and you can't have too much of the same shit, or else people are getting like a little bored.
Oh yeah, and they'll call you out on it, like social media, man. Social media, bruh,
unforgiving.
Savage.
Yes.
Bruh, like crazy. And we have like our fans are rabid, man, and God bless our fans, but bro, they go there. Like it gets wild. It gets wild on them social media outlets, man. It gets wild.
It could be helpful too, though.
Oh, for sure. Like and most of it is just us just kind of watching and kind of reacting. And sometimes we kind of look at just how people kind of react and respond to certain people. And we and the cool thing about it, man, and again, this is a testament to NK, like we don't ascribe to the pressure don't get to us. If people want certain things, like y'all just gonna have to wait. You know what I mean? If you want, because I think once you start doing that, man, once you start catering to too much of what the fans might want too soon, it can become a problem. That gets into your head and you want to start basing your stuff on that, then you already kind of start to separate yourself from like who you are. Whereas with us, we're like, because a lot of fans are not dumb. They've watched enough TV to be able to kind of suss out some stuff. And so sometimes we're like, shit, like they'll have predictions on there, and I'm like, man, they're good. It's like they are on it. So we just let that just unfold. We'll just sit back and we'll say, oh yeah, like they don't realize that what they're talking about is going to happen in like 2 episodes from now. And then you'll look back and try to track that person, and they'll be like, I told y'all 3 weeks ago this is what's going to happen. So you kind of live for those moments, because that's what's kind of cool, because then they realize that they're kind of in tune with what you're trying to do.
Now, does it ever get to a point where becoming too predictable is a problem?
Oh, facts. And what we try to do, man, there's certain times, man, where it's just like the scene will play out. There's only 2 different ways the scene can play out. So it's going to be one or the other. And so you just kind of live with your choice in that moment. And that is what it is. And then there are times, man, where we want to surprise people and where you don't see it coming. And I think we do a good job of kind of mixing that up. Like, yes, there might be moments that will feel predictable and it will kind of play out that way. But then there are times where we'll flip it on you a little bit and kind of make it and kind of give like an alternate perspective. And so much of our show, I like to say, so much of our show, what I love about our show is like, we ain't trying to preach to you. We're not trying to pick sides. We try to make it as gray as possible, right? Mm-hmm. We're going to give you this perspective. We're going to give you that perspective. We're going to let you kind of live in which one you think is best. Because some people might prefer this perspective. Some people might prefer that perspective. And so we try to do that as much as possible. And then obviously, yes, we have moments where we kind of lean a very specific way. And then we'll speak on that. But for the most part, we try to keep everything as gray and in the middle as possible.
I like that because you don't want to be swayed too much.
No, you don't. Yeah. And I mean, and some stuff is just inevitable, man. Like, you know, if he gonna kiss this chick, he gonna kiss that chick. Like, that's just kind of what it is. Like, there ain't no surprise curve that might happen or whatever. It's just like, he gonna kiss her. And then, you know, and that might feel predictable, but like at the end of the day, you know, that was kind of like that and him not kissing her are like your 2 options. And so, like
with the kissing and not kissing, that comes to my mind, like, how much does personality and the writer come into play on a show? Like, if you are a grimy ass person, does that kind of dictate how you write a little bit?
Oh, big facts. And it's funny you mentioned that, like, man, that. Because you have to like so much of
that's different cool personalities in the room, so you can get all those different emotions into one scene or one episode. Yeah, I like that, man.
See, you getting that, and it's funny. That's how you kind of how you try to comprise your writers' room, right? If it's like 8 of y'all, right? You try to get a person that's dope with dialogue, a person that's dope with story, a person that's just dope with ideas, a person that's kind of dope with structure. Sometimes you just get that wild person that's just experienced a lot of different stuff and has got crazy stories. Life experiences, all of that. And what I do, and Elijah tell you, man, a lot of our stories, you know, they come from real situations. It's like I hit up Elijah all the time, like all the Coop stuff, even down to like the merch and all that stuff that happened like in this most recent episode. It's all stuff that's based off of Elijah. Because I hit him up and I'm like, and he knows it, you know what I'm saying? And I'm saying, I said, that's why I was so happy when he was able to like do some extra work with us last year with the football stuff. Because it's my way of trying to give him some kind of money or something. I've mentioned to Nkechi about his music and getting that on the show too. It's just a matter of timing and when that'll happen. And the right
sound and stuff too.
And the right sound and the right moment and all that other stuff.
Baby to the Game coming out, he's going to have some shit for her to listen to.
That's what I'm saying.
I guarantee you guys can get a dance scene with that song "Dance with Me."
Oh, 100%. Especially with the whole SOS joint, like but it's you have to, right? Yeah. Like you got to, like
people are going to love that song. That's a get 100%. Up and move and grind.
Yes.
And I can see, you know, Coop going over there maybe with a little shorty, this song playing in the dance, and she's coming up and see woo. Yeah, man.
Yep, that's a fact, bro. We got to get it in there. So that's my mission, because I brought it up last year. I lay it off this year. I'm going to go back next year. She is well aware. So we're going to make that happen. We have to. And a lot of it is picking our right song. But to that, you know, with him, I told him, I was like, I'm always hitting him about that. And then football stuff, And like a lot of that stuff is where I kind of lean more heavily into it. Certain things about the game, and some scenes and football stuff that's not in my episode, you know. But for the most part, when it's like mine, I try to live in stuff that I experienced as a football player and kind of like tell that story and kind of go in that direction. And so, yes, people bring different things, man. Because people got different life experiences. And so somebody might bring something very specific to Layla. Somebody might bring something very specific to Coop, or somebody might bring something very specific to Preach, or somebody might bring something very specific to whomever. And you just kind of go from there. So, so yes, like that room is specifically designed so that you can get multiple perspectives. And it's also cool too, because sometimes it creates like these dope ass debates. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, nah, bro, like, I'm telling you, it wouldn't be like that because this is why it wouldn't be like that. Like, well, but to me, I prefer if we made that choice, then it could be X, Y, and Z. It's just a lot of that. So
in the writer's room, that's where it goes down. That would be so in there hearing different ideas floating about.
Oh, bro, it goes, man. Like it's our group, because we've now been together going into season 4 for the most of us have been there 4 years. So it's like, we're finally kind of like
finding that unity among
big facts.
Each other. Yeah.
And we know the show. It takes time, man. And we know the show very well. And also we write it differently. I write mine differently than like one writer here. And that writer writes differently than another. But we always make sure that we stay within the confines of the voice of the show, because there's a very specific voice to the show, and each character has a very specific voice. You always want to make sure that the words that you're writing, you can imagine them saying it. And so, but we all got different approaches to it, but it still works. And that's a testament to the group and us understanding, like, at the end of the day, like, we still have a singular voice. And again, that starts at the top.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. You mentioned football before. I do want to tap into some sports with you, but before that, I have one last question for you. What advice would you give to aspiring writers that are just fresh into the game, scratching the surface? Sometimes they're going to get flustered, they're going to have hard times. What advice would you give them?
I can tell them, man, as a dude that's been in this 10 toes deep 25 years, man, to just don't stop writing. No matter what, keep grinding, do whatever you can, apply to like fellowship programs, apply to stuff. If you want to kind of get in, take your classes, do all that other stuff, but also be willing to start from the bottom and just learn. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of cats, man, I've been running into like a lot of, even like, I get like younger, no one wants to PA. It's so weird to me. They're like these kids fresh out of college, man, that are like, yeah, if you hear about any showrunner assistant, I'm like, bruh, it's
pay your dues.
Okay to be a PA. Pay your dues. You're going to still learn the game. It don't matter where you land in the beginning. You're going to still,
as long as you got your ear.
There's a learning curve. That's all that matters. And so be willing to work is the main thing that I tell them. Be willing to work and always, and be a student of the game. Watch the hot shows. Understand that. See different shows. See how different shows impact you. Like, don't just focus on a very specific. It's okay for us to have a very specific taste. That's fine. Like, I like grimy shit. I do. You know what I'm saying? But I also watch other stuff. You know what I mean? But I also watch other stuff. I watch stuff with my wife that, like, the only way you're going to get better, because you never know where you're going to write. You never know what show you're going to
diversify yourself. Yeah.
You got to diversify yourself, bro. You got to, you got to watch Sex and the City is a brilliant show, bro. It really is. And it's important to watch shows like that. Same way it's important to watch Snowfall. And it's because you never know what you're going to run up against. If you only watch the Snowfalls, you only write a very specific way. And then you come on a show and there's only like one character that's kind of tailored to your voice. Well, now you got to figure out how to write for those other characters. And sometimes that's a struggle. And if your script don't come out, if your first one don't come off up to par or up to snuff, that could be a mark on your jacket. So you got to make sure
your shot and you drop the ball.
You drop the ball. So I tell them all the time, I'm like, study shows, study everything. Don't minimize or limit yourself. Always be a student of the game. Always be writing. And always be willing to do whatever it takes just to get your foot in the door. Internship, paid internship, PA, whatever it is, do it because you will benefit from it. Even if you go in and work for an asshole, it's okay. You know what I'm saying? That's fine because we've all worked for assholes at some point. Most of the time, they just projecting their own personal shit on you. It is what it is. I've had to threaten a couple of dudes. You got to see through it. You know what I'm saying? Like I've been in situations like that. I might not have threatened a couple of dudes. You know what I'm saying? Like that happened early in my career. But at the end of the day, I was better for it. And so, and even from that asshole, like I learned something. So it's like, just do the work, man. Get in, try to get in however you can get in. Never stop writing. And if you ain't writing, watch stuff, study stuff, all the shows. Go back 20 years, watch older stuff all the way up to now. You know what I mean? Like those like the 3 key tent poles, man.
Hey, man, all you aspiring writers out there, listen to Uncle Jay's advice. He's been in this game a long time, people. He knows what he's talking about. So, yeah, man, now I want to jump over to my company. Talk a little bit of sports in this bitch.
Let's get it, bro.
I've been itching the whole time. You mentioned football a second ago. I'm like, don't fucking bring it up yet.
Let's get it. Let's get it. I love it.
All right, so, you know what? The NBA, they're in the playoffs.
Yep.
Let's talk that. Let's start with basketball.
For sure.
So who's your team? You're a Warriors.
Dubs. I'm Dubs all day.
Okay,
I'm an Oakland dude.
so.
I was with them when they were terrible, bro. Like I saw them trade away. I went through
you
my
about to bring
whole
up Baron Davis?
Oh, that bro, way before then. Like
okay, who you talking about?
BD was special. I'm talking about, bro. We go for people to understand like how long I've been rocking with the Dubs. Like I go back. I don't go back to this because I don't remember this trade because I was too young. But like Robert Parrish, I remember when Bernard King was there. I remember when Mitch Richmond was there. They traded him. I remember when they had Mully, traded him. I remember we had C. Webb, traded him. I remember like all of these dudes because we traded C. Webb and got Billy Owens. And I'm like, did we really just do that? Like I remember like all of that stuff. I was there for all of it. I was there for the Victor Alexanders and the Chris Gatlings and all of these dudes in the 90s who no shade on them. It was just like, these were supposed to be centerpieces for this team. And then you started to kind of see a little bit of the turn with the Mississippi Bullet, Monte Ellis. You started to kind of see the turn, man. And then, and that was a hard trade. Like they had to figure out what they wanted to do because you had Steph, you had him, and you ain't gonna be able to have them together for very long.
Even before that, man, I was a big fan of Baron Davis, Jason Richardson, man.
Jay Rich.
Oh, Jason Richardson was a dog. He'll pull it from 3, but he was banging on everybody.
Oh, yeah. Jay Rich. And it's funny, man, like when Draymond was talking about that team, especially like the We Believe team in 07 with Stack and Matt Barnes, and like all of these dudes. What I loved about that team is those dudes represented, even though they weren't from there, they represented the town. They represented Oakland.
Yeah.
Like you felt like the city had fully embraced these dudes. And they have fully embraced the culture and the city. And so, like, because Oakland is a very blue collar, like, underdog, like, hardcore city. And so that team, with these scrappy underdogs, and there's a team full of underdogs. Even like Michael Petras, who wasn't bad defensively. Like, he was nice defensively, but like, to your point, you had the Jay Rich, and then you had Harrington, and you had BD, and then you had like Stack and Matt and all of these dudes. Like
they had a squad, man.
Bro, they have squad, and it felt like we were watching a bunch of dudes from the town playing ball. That's how, even though like Jay Rich is from Michigan and like Matt Barnes from Sac, so he ain't that far from there, and like Stack is from like Texas, and BD is from LA, but you felt like these dudes were all from the town. And so, and that's why we got
the town embraced them.
100%. And it's an underdog city. It's an underdog city with these underdogs who came in and knocked off this 8 seed.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then pushed Utah in that second round. I think they just ran out of gas and they weren't hitting the free throws.
You're talking about the Mavericks, right?
Yeah, they beat the Mavs.
Yeah. Smacked the Mavs. Yeah. Hey, that team like paved the way for Dame to come up and do what he's doing.
Oh, yeah. Big, because he's watching that.
Yeah.
And Dame's funny. Dame went to Oakland High. Oakland High was my high school rival. And Dame started at St. Joe's, but Dame was a dude. He's a Brookfield dude. He's from Brookfield. And so he went to Ohio and he went to Weber. And again, underdog, right? Mm-hmm. Goes to Weber. And that's what made him and CJ so special. CJ goes to Lehigh. Like these two dudes who are these underdogs that people didn't give them. That people, and bruh, I don't know if you remember CJ's senior year or whatever, his junior, senior year, whatever it was before he came out, bruh gave Duke the business. He gave Duke the business.
I don't remember.
And that was when I first saw like how nice this dude was. And then one of my boys went to Lehigh. And so he was like talking about like this dude, CJ, is a problem. And so now you look at CJ and you look at Dame, that's 55 a night. You're getting from these two dudes
from the guard
who went to mid-majors. Two from the guard position, both from mid-majors. Like both from schools that ain't really on no one's radar, you know, and no one really wanted these. I mean, I don't say no one wanted them, but it's like they're just underrated stars. And so, and you look at them now, man, I mean, those two dudes are bulky. Dame is a bucket. That dude is a walking bucket.
Yeah. He's, excuse me, people. He's definitely, Dame gets slept on, you know, if Steph is here, Dame's like right there.
I agree.
And that's with so much respect to Dame. It's just, you know, Steph Curry is, he's different, but Dame is not far behind. They do a lot of similar things. They're same, but different.
Yep. 100. I agree.
Yeah, man. It's just unfortunate Dame came into the same time where, you know, point guards have really been tearing shit up the last 10 years. Point guards are just not the same as they used to be back in the day.
No, these dudes are combos, man. It's almost like I remember coming up, you saw like dudes like you saw a little bit of it in like Stevie franchise, right? Where like Steve Francis, I mean, he kind of unfortunately kind of flamed out a little bit, but you saw that combo guard thing that was kind of happening where it's like a dude that was technically a point guard, but he could shoot. And that's kind of like with Steph. And to your point, like with Dame, like it's just, you can't, like these dudes, man, like, and that transition, you know, in the last 10 to 12 years has just been hardcore. But it's been fun to watch. I mean, Steph has effectively changed the game of basketball, bro. Like,
the
little kids are chucking.
The way Magic came, it changed it. Michael Jordan came, it. Steph Curry is changing basketball.
He's changing the game.
He's literally
Shaq changing.
He's getting Shaq. You know, Wilt, new rules, shit like that. Steph is getting double teamed as soon as he crosses half court.
Yes,
that's crazy. That's crazy. Gotta be. If you're demanding two people on you as soon as you cross half court, you are one of the most dangerous people in all of basketball ever.
Oh, that's a fact.
Yeah, not too many people are scared of a single person like that.
And then when your partner in crime, in a lot of ways, is effectively, he's different. He's a catch and shoot dude, but is effectively just as dangerous as you and a better defender and bigger. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And it works because Steph is like, he's shake and bake. And Clay is catch and shoot. So that's the perfect combination as well. It's not two shake and bake dudes. It's a shake and bake, catch and shoot. And that, like, from a spacing perspective, and then all of the things that gives you, you know what I'm saying? It makes these dudes virtually unguardable.
I think one of the things that's slept on a lot with them is their conditioning. Like Steph. Oh, yeah. How many miles is this guy running per game? Ooh, off screen. Bruh. All to get one shot. And then he takes that shot and it's so effortless.
And you see his trainer says they work on breathing exercises. They work on exercises just in terms of how he takes breaths.
When he shoots?
No, just in terms general, of like, to your point about staying in shape, like they do breathing exercises. Like they do breathing type treatment type things, you know, for him, you know, because he realized like as he gets older, he has to make certain adjustments. But you gotta think, man, like dude played with a broken tailbone, like these last week and a half.
Giving it to everybody.
Everybody.
Homie had a broken tailbone and dropped 37 against the Lakers and like 38 against the Grizzlies.
And then me and my boy was at the one that week leading into the play-in. We was at the one when he had a bad night against Phoenix when they beat Phoenix up in at Chase when Wig went for almost 40. And you could tell when I was watching the game, I was like, dude, don't look right. Yeah. But I didn't know what it was. And I thought because he had his knee heavily wrapped, and I was like, I don't remember him having a knee injury. It didn't dawn on me that it was still like the tailbone from that fall that was affecting him. And so I think, man, that was God looking out for him to prevent him from going into this postseason, because like the weight that dude would have to, like the weight that he would have to assume. Because in those last two games, in the Lakers game And then at Grizz, he played 40 plus minutes, and he's never really done that in his career. And he definitely didn't do it this year. Like, he was on a bit of a pitch count with his minutes this whole season. And so, and then towards the end of the year, it helped because Jordan Poole started playing. Like, Jordan Poole started becoming a bucket, so Steph could sit longer because they knew they at least had one weapon. Yeah. But I think that it was like, and then they had a lottery team. They got that pick. That Minnesota pick hopefully will roll back into like a 4 or 5.
If it's 4, all right. So you guys got Steph coming back healthy. Hopefully Draymond can hit something because he does everything else great. You got Klay hopefully coming back, whatever healthy version of himself that is going to be. Then you have James Wiseman coming back, has the summertime to grow his game, get healthy, get a little bit better. And then you throw a 4 pick in there who you could potentially package with Andrew Wiggins or Kelly Oubre to potentially trade for another guy. And there's rumors talking about Kawhi is potentially interested. So,
bruh, let me tell you something. If they get swept or if they just lose, even if they go game 7,
they get swept.
Me too, bro. I want them to get swept so bad. I want them to get, and for a lot of reasons. And one of them is exactly what you just said. Because if there's a way to finesse and get that dude, because there's no version of him that's staying on that team unless I know he wants to stay. I know he wants to be entrenched because this is home for him because he's a Mo Valley dude. So I know he probably, I mean, like, I don't know Kawhi like that, but I would imagine in my mind, like, dude would prefer to stay out here. But unless you give him pieces, he ain't staying. Yeah. And if you can keep him in Cali and give him an opportunity to go play with Steph,
and he ain't going to the Kings.
And he ain't going to the Kings. So so
only option is the Warriors. And do the Warriors have the cap space to sign
They
them?
don't. So the problem with the Dubs,
it would have to be a sign and trade. Yeah,
they'd have to do a sign and trade to make that happen. That's the only way.
I wonder if the contract, the cap space will pan out if it was like Kelly Oubre, Andrew Wiggins, whoever the fuck else to make it match outside of Draymond, Klay, and Steph.
Probably it had to be some version of that, and probably that
Wiseman would probably have to be involved, huh?
Either it depends on what it depends. It's a taste thing. It depends on what you want because like that kid is talented. He's just not the problem with him.
No, they need to keep him.
They have to keep him.
Perfect fit for that team.
He just because the things he's shown you just enough this year for me to be like, I get it. I mean, on one hand, from a present tense purpose, I look at LaMelo myself. I'm like, fuck. but I'm like, I understand. And I think that if he can give you, and Bam Adebayo, I think is one of the most underrated dudes that people don't talk enough about because the boy can pass. He can do so much. He plays great D. And he is like that classic Heat, like in the vein of like Zoe Morning and UD and all of them dudes that have been there. But I think that like, if you can get Wiseman's game to Bam, and I feel like he is probably already within another year or two, he'll be a better shooter than Bam because the boy can knock down a 3.
Yeah.
There are things that he can do if you can just mobilize him because they like to run, they like to go. Draymond runs that offense. You know, if there's no version of him that's slowing them down, which typically bigs slow them down, if there's no version of him slowing them down and his game continues to grow, that dude can be elite. And I think that with that team and with Klay coming back, he's going to get ample opportunity to shine. And so there could be a version of like, I think that if they wanted to get Kawhi in a sign and trade, you're going to basically have to give the Clippers some version of like
Andrew Wiggins, the number 4 pick.
Probably that 4. To me, that's a package. Like,
yes.
And if I'm the Clippers, I'm taking
Jordan Poole or something like that. Entice him a bit more.
Because if I'm the Clippers, I'm taking that. If there's an opportunity, if this dude is basically saying I'm not coming back, like this ain't happening,
you get what you
got to at least think about it. You got to at least consider it because this is one of the deepest drafts, in the last 10 to 15 years. It's a lot of great young wing players in this draft, bro. Like, and look, there's a world where like Jalen Suggs drops to 4. You don't know that. Like he could be, if I had to guess, Suggs will probably fall somewhere. It's all contingent upon where the lottery falls and who needs a point guard. Because, like, watching that kid in the tournament, I'm like, this boy is special. And Cade Cunningham, we all know is nice. But even, like, Scotty Barnes, Moses Moody, the 2 boys that's in the G League, it's so much talent at the top. And then the boy that I love, that I kind of hope, if the Dubs don't package this and they decide to get one of them, I kind of want them to get Davion Mitchell from Baylor because that boy is a problem. He reminds me of Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah.
He's like explosive. He can take you off the dribble. He can shoot the three. But most importantly, this dude is cocky. And I love that shit. He got fire.
I like some shit talk, man.
Bruh.
Get there and talk your shit.
That's why they murked Gonzaga and they weren't afraid. They punked him. They punked Gonzaga that whole national championship. And Davion Mitchell was leading that charge. Yeah. And he was taking it to the cup, bro. He's like mixing dudes up, getting to the rack like anytime he want. And then he'd do this, step back, knock down a three. He's starting to climb. So it's funny. He's starting to climb like Donovan Mitchell because Donovan Mitchell was outside the lottery. And then by pre-draft, everybody was saying, get this dude. And then he ended up, and Utah got him. And so, yeah, I mean, I like Davion Mitchell a lot. I like seeing the growth of Wiseman. But then there are like young bets that I like. Like I like Brogdon a lot. I just think dude's not in the right situation. He'd be a perfect warrior because he's 6'5", 6'6". They like switchability. They like dudes that can kind of do both. They can knock down a three. Like you can go in a Hampton 5 with him and you'll be good because the boy played D and he plays D and he can shoot. Brogdon's biggest thing is like health. But like it just depends on I feel like they're gonna have options this year, and I feel like teams are gonna,
options.
And people are gonna come, they're gonna ask because you're gonna like Jordan, like you brought up Jordan Poole. Like there are teams that are gonna start sniffing around about him, man. And they've seen enough of him to know like he's only 21. And you look at the impact Jordan Clarkson had on Utah, they're very similar. Poole is about the same size, they kind of play the same way, they even look like brothers. But it's like there's something very similar about Clarkson's game and Poole's game, you know? So
it's going to be interesting. The Warriors are going to have a lot of options, like you said, you know, if that pick falls, it's going to get very interesting.
Oh, 100%. It's going to get wild.
We're going to find out, you know, health, I feel like is their biggest problem. So hopefully these guys get healthy because the league is better with a healthy Warriors team. Even when they were smashing everybody, as a Lakers fan, I was still liking it because there's no way you don't like Steph and Klay. They're like two of the most beloved people in the NBA. When Klay went down, everybody was sad.
Oh, bro, especially the second time. I mean, you imagine the first time, bro. I'm still like, that second
time hurt. Like I felt like a piece.
But the second time was like, oh, dude, it was funny. I was on set at work when I saw it, and it was like Klay went down with an injury, and I'm like, man, I hope it's not what I think. And I wasn't even thinking Achilles in the moment. And then when those rumors start circulating, man, my heart sunk, bro. And I felt so bad for him. Yeah. Because think about even when he tore his knee, what he was doing in that game 6, he had 30. He
tore his knee on a slam on a fast break. Boom. Threw it down. Got hurt, went in the tunnel, was jumping on it, was running. Put me back in the game, coach.
He's a savage.
Klay is that guy, bro. Let's talk some NBA playoffs.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
All right, so we're going to start in the Western Conference. As you all know, a few games have been played. It's probably going to be about a week before I drop this episode. So first round will probably be over.
Yep.
Be interesting. You know, recently Luka just got that second win against the Clippers. I hope they get swept. AD had a big game against Phoenix, tied that series up. And then Donovan Mitchell is coming back. You know, it's going to get real interesting. Who do you got coming out of the West?
The West is it's funny, man. The West is wild. I think that like it's matchups, right? I feel like when you look at Denver and Portland, I think that when it's all said and done, it's going to obviously you can make this argument for any of them. It comes down to going to want it more. But I feel like Portland has the pieces to beat them, and the only reason why I say that is because there's no Jamal Murray. Yeah, and even though Gordon, Murray, and Jokic. Denver's a problem. When
they were healthy, I said, oh, shit, they just might be a top 3 team in this league and could beat anybody. They might be the best.
Oh, I agree. Like, they can come out that West. You saw it last year. Like, they pushed the Lakers, man, and they were young, and that was a young Porter. Like, Porter is gaining confidence. Like, and I like the Aaron Gordon pickup. Like, because Gordon can play D. He's like the explosive dude.
Play D, catch lobs, man. If you got to
play D and catch lobs. And exactly. He serves his purpose. And again, Gordon's only 25. Mm-hmm. Porter's 22. Jokic is 26.
Keep them together.
Keep all of them dudes together. And they got a really good coach.
For the next 8 years, they're causing some problems for a lot of teams.
And Mike Malone, ex-Warriors coach, you know what I'm saying, is like running that. And that's the Warriors system that they use, man. So I feel like this year, though, I feel like Portland, because Portland got smacked last year in the bubble, but the year before, Portland went to the finals, Western Conference Finals. And I feel like they, because of Melo, because of the push, and I like the pieces. If Rocco can just be a 3-and-D dude, and Norman Powell can keep giving them buckets, plus the backcourt that we all know.
Robert Covington has to make some threes.
He has to. Rocco, he got to. He got to make threes, and he got to play D. He got to do what they brought him for.
He's going to play D.
So as long as he's staying consistent with that, and I love Norman Powell's game. It's the best statistical year Norman Powell's ever had, and I think that
shit up before the trade.
Bro, Toronto, he was a bucket. And I think he's just trying to find his way with this group because it's like
trying to fit in. It wasn't that much time. They're not practicing because of the pandemic shortened season. So you got two dudes, two ball. You got dominant guys.
You got two ball dominant dudes.
So CJ
really three.
And Norman Powell.
So it's like you got to find your way. And I think that and Melo. Yeah. So I think that I feel like they're going to find a way to beat the Nuggets. I think they're going to come out of that. The funny thing about the Mavs and the Clippers, had KP not gotten hurt last year, they would have ran them last year.
Yeah.
It's just matchup. They match up. The league is so much about matchups. They just match up better with them for some reason, and I don't know why. They have no one that can stop Luka. Now they're up 2-0, and there's a listlessness that the Clippers just they seem to keep playing with. Like they're playing now like they played in the bubble last year. And I don't know why. And so I can see them falling asleep at the wheel. If Denver just gets one of those two at home, they're good. Because I feel like they now have the advantage. I feel like they can close them out, but they're a young team. They got to figure out if Hardaway and all these other dudes continue to gel and continue to get them buckets, and they're not afraid of them.
Porzingis has to put it together a bit more.
He has to, yes.
He can't be 7-3 and go out and get 4 rebounds. Your team is not going to.
You got to bang.
You got to bring your big man's game for sure.
You have to. You got to bang.
Yeah, you got to. And the thing that is very incredible with that matchup is that you got two of the best wing defenders in the league, in Kawhi and Paul George, and they still can't stop this man.
No, at all.
This kid
is crazy to me.
Something else.
And I don't know why. You remember when a couple of years ago when he won it, when Kawhi won in Toronto, and they put him on Giannis, and it changed that whole series. When Toronto played Milwaukee, I want to say it was around game 2 or 3, they put him on Giannis. They put Kawhi on Giannis for most possessions. Not the whole game, but most possessions. Changed the trajectory of that series. Like they made that adjustment. And that ultimately got Nick Nurse coach of the year. I feel like that move was one of the biggest moves that he made in the postseason.
Yeah.
And it helped because Milwaukee crumbled. Because Milwaukee was they were dominant. Milwaukee's number 1 in the East that year, number 1, they were dominant.
I think that was their best team.
That was what I
had Brogdon. They had, that full, before those guys started getting paid, going different places. That was their window open and closed that year.
Best team. I agree. Because I love Drew Holiday, but at the end of the day, I'm like, y'all gave Drew Holiday his money. Drew Holiday's 4 years older than him. He's the same dude as Brogdon because they both play D. He's just a smaller version. And Drew, don't get me wrong, Drew Holiday is one of the most underrated players in the league. I love his game. Sure. I love his game.
But
I love the way he plays D.
That's going to give him over the top.
No, he's not that. It's just I'm like, you probably could, the money that they spent on him, they could probably given a third of that to Brogdon and another dude. You know what I mean? And I still don't think they don't have a point guard. They still don't have, Chris Paul on that team would solidify a lot of things. That would make them, because they don't have that. Now, because Drew is a classic too, you know what I mean? And again, an elite defender and one of the most underrated in the game. But he's not that dude to me to get them over that hump. Now, granted,
he's not a superstar. And in my opinion, a star is going to go out, get you the numbers, the Devin Booker. A superstar is going to get you those wins.
Yep, 100%.
Chris Middleton and Drew Holiday are both stars, and that's cool. But we're starting to find out that Giannis might be a star also.
I know, which I hate to see.
Sucks. Yeah, but he's He can't.
He's not.
We're gonna find out. They're up 2-0 against the Heat right now. It's gonna be interesting, but they're not beating the Nets, I don't think, and they're definitely not beating the Sixers. That's who I got.
No, I mean too. I feel like Philly's the only team, man, because I feel like what Philly does have against coming out of the East, I feel like it's gonna come down to the Sixers and the Nets, and I feel like what Philly has is like he's a beast.
Tear the Nets up.
He's going to kill them because they play no D. Now, granted, yes, they got 3 elite dudes on that team. And Joe Harris, man, that boy, he can shoot his ass off. But, like, I feel like if you can equalize or stabilize just one half of those 3, you're going to be okay. And what Philly has, Ben Simmons is another one whose game has not evolved in 3 seasons. But, like, what I'll say about dude's an elite defender. If he played, and then what's the dude's name? Thybulle. I
was going to bring him up.
Another elite defender.
Monster.
So you got 2 elite defenders, right? You got Tobias Harris, who's getting buckets. What separates this Sixers team from any Sixers team in the last 5 years, and I remember telling the dude this, and he was like, that ain't it. They got shooters. Danny Green.
Yeah, Danny Green, Seth
You got Curry. You got shooters. Even Korkmaz comes off, and he can shoot. They got dudes who can shoot, and they've never had that. And I feel like in a series, possession by possession, keeping it close. Yes, those 3, one of those 3 every night's gonna get buckets. It's just what it is. But like, if you can stabilize one of them or 1.5 of them, just have one not have a great game, because they don't play great D, and because you can kind of eat into possessions with Embiid, kind of like doing his magic in the post. Like, I feel like they have the best chance to do it. And I feel like teams are motivated.
That you brought up before, they match up with the Nets great because of that equalizer, or excuse me, the non-equalizer, Joel Embiid in the middle. KD can't play him. DeAndre Jordan is not the same guy he used to be.
No, it won't be Blake. It won't be any
Blake
of those dudes.
That's barbecue chicken. That's easy money right there. So with Thybulle maybe guarding like Kyrie or James Harden, and then you put Ben Simmons on KD, that's excellent matchups right there.
Yeah.
I hope it happens, man, because I've been a very big supporter of this 76ers team. Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid. A lot of people don't think it could work. I think it can. It takes time. These guys are young. They, dealt with injuries so many times. Give them a couple years to actually be healthy and compete, and let's see what happens.
And I think for me, my biggest thing with Ben Simmons, I feel like Ben Simmons is one of those dudes that Ben Simmons, you remember like last year, especially when Embiid would be out, and Ben Simmons would be putting up like 20, 15, and like 8 every night.
3 blocks, 2 steals.
3 blocks. So I'm like, so it's there. It exists. It's there. It feels like some nights, man, for whatever reason, and he's just primarily focusing on being a facilitator. I don't know what it is. I know dudes are kind of eating into his touches, you know what I mean? Like, because you got really good shooters that are eating into touches and possessions. But like, I want dude to kind of take his game to that next level, because he was starting to ascend and was starting to do that. And I don't know what's going on. I don't know if it's partly that injury and that surgery that he had last summer. I was going to say
the back surgery.
It must be some version of that, man. And hopefully give this young boy a full off season to get healthy. But I'm with you, man, because my wife, she's from Philly. And so my brother-in-laws are huge, heavy Philly dudes. And so, in support of them, I'm rocking with the Sixers all the way through. Plus, it's Doc Rivers, a black coach. I feel like Doc got slided a little bit with the Clippers. And that's not to say that it wasn't all on Doc. I feel like Doc did make adjustments, and there are probably some things that he probably wished he would have done better. But like, I want Doc to get one, get another one. And I think that like kind of rocking with him and kind of seeing him and I also feel like because there's so much hype behind this team, behind the Nets, and because these 3 individuals in particular, like there's so much vitriol kind of being thrown at these dudes for different reasons, you know what I mean? And then they kind of come together. I feel like there's added incentive and extra motivation for Sixers or whomever that plays them to want to beat them. That you might get, there's a world where like they're going to get whomever's best every night. I mean, unfortunately, they're playing against a Boston team that just, they don't have Jaylen Brown. Like they don't have they're playing against an Olympic
Boston team
that they should, like, because we were just talking about this today, and my boy is like, man, don't you miss You missed the days, and it was just like 5-game series. And these they shouldn't be these first round. I missed the first round. You're getting 5 games.
Some teams, yeah,
bruh, it's crazy. It's crazy to me. And so, so I don't know. I mean, but I'm with you, man. I'm rooting for the Sixers to get out of that. I honestly feel like, bro, it don't matter who you put in front of the Lakers. If they get into any kind of a rhythm, I think they're gonna still come out of that West. I just feel they have. I know for them, it's just they're not in sync because dudes missed literally 2 months, 3 months.
Yes, I watch every Lakers game and they need to find a rhythm. LeBron is definitely still dealing with the ankle injury. That hopefully could get better as time progresses when they get through the Suns. And we're gonna find out. Another issue with the Lakers that I was just thinking of. Shit, what was it? Oh, not an issue. A good point. In the last game against Phoenix, LeBron shot the fuck out of the basketball.
Yeah, he did.
Turnaround fadeaways. He was doing falling out of bounds 3-point shots. It reminded me of the GOAT Kobe Bryant. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Like
he was cooking.
Great coat.
The late great coat. Yeah. No, I know.
But Bron looked great, man. He looked great.
He was cooking. He was cooking the other night, man. And I mean, last night, right? Was last night they played them? Or he was cooking, man.
What's today? Wednesday? Yep, last night. He looked absolutely fantastic.
He was cooking. And I think that they're just a matchup nightmare, man, because they have
the size. They
got the size. And then if you want to go small, they can go small. Like they have positional versatility.
When you put Anthony Davis at the 5, you have the best small ball lineup in the league.
Yep.
And then if you want to go big, you have Anthony Davis, Andre Drummond, you have Marc Gasol. That's so much size, and people forget that Kuzma and LeBron are damn near 6'10" themselves.
I know.
That's a lot of size, man.
That's a fact. And then you put in dudes who can defend, like KCP, Caruso can defend, and you got dudes that can defend. They miss. I will say this. Wes Matthews is another one. I will say this. The one thing that y'all missed, and he was huge in the bubble, was Rondo.
I know Rondo was Rondo, man. I don't like Rondo. He played lights out basketball in the bubble last year.
Yeah.
He played fantastic, but I fucking hate the Celtics, bro. And especially that Celtics 08, the big 3. Whew, it hurts me, bro, because I'm such a big Ray Allen fan, but fuck them. Fuck Rondo. I'm glad we won our championship and he took his ass somewhere else because I didn't want to deal with his shit. But watching Rondo and LeBron James on the court at the same time was horrible at times. There was horrible spacing, a lot of dribble, shot clock violations. It was bad. But
what I like about him is how smart he is, man. His basketball IQ is crazy. And I think, to be honest with you, and that's what you would run up against with him and Bron, because I think that's one of the that's why that's why Bron loves J. Kidd so much. And he talks about how J. Kidd being an assistant coach there, it's a dude that he can talk to who has a similar IQ. And I feel like Rondo is another one of those dudes with a similar IQ. And I knew he didn't have to worry. Like when Rondo was out there, he could rest.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like whenever it was Rondo running the offense, specifically in the bubble, he was like, all right, we good. And so it's just interesting. But I'm with you though. Rondo, a wild boy, man. I mean, I do love him two-piece and Chris Paul. I thought that was amazing. I love that a lot. And so, but yeah, I mean,
you brought up a good point because when LeBron sits and AD is in the game, the offense looks horrible.
Yeah.
It gets stagnant, the ball movement. They try to have ball movement, but the penetration lacks sometimes. That's where Schroeder comes in. I feel like if Bron sits, he has to be in the game because he breaks the defense down off the dribble. He could either, float it up there or kick it out to a shooter. So it's going to be interesting, man. I hope that continuity comes with the Lakers because, of course, I want them to run it back. So I hope they do get their shit together.
And I really don't think, and I feel like even when Donovan Mitchell coming back, man, to your point about the ankle, and I know he's healthy, the ankle can roll at any given moment, though. It's conditioning. Yeah. Dude's been out about, a month and a half.
Yeah.
He got one of those, he's got one of those a few Happy Meals away from kind of getting a little, You know what I mean? Because he's one of those dudes. He's not stocky.
Heftier.
Like
he's a little heftier.
He's a solid dude.
He's
like
a smaller James Harden.
Yes, exactly. Well, if Harden leaves you for a week and a half, like that could be a problem. Like he got like that dad bod type shit going on.
You got to keep ties on him. No, hey, there's nothing worse than a fat man at the park balling your ass up, and that's James Harden every night.
With the beard too, it just makes him look fatter.
He has like chips and shit in the beard. It's falling
Pringles
out as he's
are falling out.
People over.
Oh yeah, step back. Man. Pringles flying out off the step back.
All right, give me NBA Finals prediction, teams, and what game you think that team will close it out in.
Finals, man. I think it's gonna be. I feel like it's gonna be Sixers and your boys. It's gonna be Sixers and Lakers, and I feel like
that's who I think too.
I feel like
Lakers in 5.
I feel like that thing going to distance. No, I don't think 5. I think that thing's gonna go to distance. Embiid's a problem, bro, and I feel like that thing is gonna go. I feel like it's Doc too. To me, this is Doc's.
It's personal.
It's personal, and to me, this is Doc's way. This is Doc's version of, I guess, get back. Mm-hmm. Right? He never quite got it with the Clippers, but if he gets an opportunity to do it against the Lakers, it can happen.
It's just as good.
It's just as good. I feel like, man, I'm rocking with him. I know this is a bit of pie in the sky because I know Brooklyn, that's going to be hard, but I do agree with you that they can that they are the team that can do it.
That is a winnable series for sure.
That is a winnable series for them. I feel like if they're locked in, they can do it. If they're locked in and they're healthy and they're in rhythm from the perimeter, like they stand a chance of beating them. Like I can see that happening. And I like them against the Lakers, man. I don't know who to pick in that game 7 on. That's the one thing I don't know. I think that they're going to go 7, but I can see that happening.
All right, man. You guys heard it first. Uncle Jay, NBA Finals prediction, Lakers and Sixers going to game 7. Don't know who's going to win yet. We'll find out soon. But, Uncle Jay, every single time I have somebody new on my show, I give them a time where I sit back, I shut my mouth, and I give them the spotlight to let people know what you got going on, what you got coming up next, what to check out, whatever it may be. This your time.
I'll just say this, man. And first of all, I appreciate that, man. And I appreciate everything that you're doing, bro. I really do. I love this platform. I love what you're going, where you're going, and trust me, the sky's the limit for you. My big thing, man, I'm just gonna keep working on I'm on All-American. Season 4 will come at you probably, God willing, in October. That's the plan. We still got 6 episodes from this season. And it's kind of cool for the fans because our next grouping of episodes aren't returning until June 14th. So you're going to get us all the way until July, which is kind of fire. So that way, by the time we're done in July, and for those who didn't watch, they can watch it on Netflix, probably in late July, early August. And then on top of that, the new season will just be back 2 months later. So we're coming for you. It's going to be dope. The other thing I want to say, I just sold a movie pitch. Me and my boy are going to co-write the Doug Williams story. So it's a football. Okay. It's a football icon, first black man to win the Super Bowl in the 80s. And we'll kind of tell his story. It's going to be a non-traditional biopic. It's going to be told through this young kid who Doug Williams kind of impacted in life. He won't be a football player. He won't be none of that. He's going to ultimately become the next John Lewis, the next congressman, but we're going to kind of split his life with Doug's life and how the decisions that Doug makes and all of the adversity that he went through from a professional standpoint will impact this kid who's from DC in the 80s from an emotional standpoint. It's going to be a really cool thing. Me and my boy in the early stages of making that happen. And then I got other projects that I'm working on, man. I'm just this is a good year. I got a lot of things cooking, thank God. And we'll see,
Man, that's going to get very exciting. And congratulations. I'm definitely going to be on the lookout for that. And I'll hit you up.
For sure.
Hit me with all the updates because I'll definitely make sure I check that out. I am waiting for All-American to get on Netflix. I need to get caught up my damn self.
Oh, bro, yeah. Just wait. You might as well just wait until August. We get 19 of them. It's good. It's solid, bro. It's a solid season, man. Super duper solid, man. We're very proud of it, bro. So I look forward to what you think about it, man. Let me know.
Oh, I'm definitely going to let you know. Ladies and gentlemen, Jamie Turner, writer on CW's All-American. You can check it on CW and Netflix. New season's coming out. It's gonna be exciting. You know, Uncle Jay's been telling me this is the best season 3 so far. I'm excited to check it out, man. But thank you,
man.
I truly appreciate you getting on my
Yes,
platform,
sir.
talking some smack with me.
Yes. You too, man. Take care, Mac. God bless, bro.